I'm so glad you're here. This is a replay of a live training I did inside the OTs for Pelvic Health Facebook group with Lindsey Vestal, and I wanted to make sure that everyone gets access to it. Pelvic health is such an incredibly fulfilling specialty, and it's growing so much. I've been training OTs since 2018, and my goal is to have over 10,000 OTs trained by the year 2030. I'm so glad you're here learning about this specialty. I hope that you can join us in the OTs for Pelvic Health Facebook group with me, Lindsey Vestal. I will link to the group below in the show notes and description. Thank you so much.
Hello, welcome to OT Empower Hour. It is almost mid-October. I have to admit, this is one of my favorite times of the year. I love the change in season. I love the crispness in the air. I love sweater weather. I love pumpkin lattes. My 45th birthday is coming up in about a week, so I have to add that actually adds to the excitement for me as well. And so for today's OT Empower Hour, I'm going to kick it off with asking you what your favorite leaf color change is. So, we've got that red, that vibrant red, we've got burnt orange, we've got yellow. What is your favorite color to witness as the fall season approaches? I have to say I love all of them, but I'm going to put in red. I'm going to put in red in the comments. I want to hear from you. If you're joining me live and the replay, I love the replay. Let me know, what is your favorite fall color? So today's topic is all about exploring the OT approach to trauma-informed care. This is one of my favorite topics. And I have to say that the longer I'm a pelvic floor therapist, the more I embrace being a trauma-informed therapist. I think if we're in pelvic health, we have to be trauma-informed, trauma-sensitive, and whether it's overt or not. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get on and talk about this today was I am still processing the OTs in Pelvic Health Summit from this past weekend. What a spectacular, uplifting experience. I left Saturday night and Sunday night feeling so inspired by the vast variety of ways that OTs are serving their clients and following what I could describe as like that inner voice to really be a leader in their own way. And one of the topics that came up often throughout the weekend was trauma. And at one point, we even started talking about the difference between like little t trauma and big T trauma. And like so many other conversations from the summit, I've just been continuing to think through what this really means and what the implication is for our field. So I wanted to jump on the OT Empower Hour today and explore this a little bit with you, explore what the word trauma actually means. So that's what we're going to do today. But if you are here, please let me know by putting in your favorite fall color. The algorithm in Facebook is such that I don't know you until you post a comment. And if you post a comment on the replay, it's fantastic because it also lets me know what topics are of most interest to you, because I can see the number of replays that are watched, and it just helps inform what else we're going to come on here and share weekly. OT Empower Hours are where we pull up our sleeves and really just break down the barriers and continue to learn together to be the best occupational therapists we can be. So let's jump into today's topic at looking at what this word trauma actually means. Now, there are a number of lenses that you could look at trauma through. You can look at it, my favorite is looking at it through this somatic or body-informed approach. And this body-informed approach is actually somatic, right? It's the word somatic. And somatic comes from the word soma, which comes from the ancient Greek word. And it's often translated to mean the body, but the Greeks did not actually distinguish between body, mind, and spirits. So they were one. So soma really means kind of a living wholeness of being human. And I have to say, for those of you that have watched my Pelvic Soma Hour, that is an interview series that I created several years ago where I interviewed OTs that were doing some incredible things. It's kind of actually, now that I think back on it, it reminded me of like a six-person version of the summit. We had 35 speakers at the summit. This was like a six-person version, so I was starting small and definitely learning my skills around interviewing, and I called it Pelvic Soma Hour. And it's so funny that now I'm back using that same term today with you right after the weekend of the summit, because this word soma comes up, I think, a lot in my reading. Right now I'm actually in the middle of reading in an unspoken voice by Peter Levine. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read this before. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is actually inspired from his work and from this book. He's actually the thought leader of somatic trauma healing. He's the creator of somatic experiencing. And I know there's a few people who are somatic experiencing practitioners here on our community. So if you are one, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear if that is something that you bring into your pelvic floor practice, because I'd love to know more about how that works for you. So Peter from the somatic experiencing world defines trauma as not what happened. So trauma is not defined by the event itself. People will often use the word trauma in reference to something unexpected or something intense, something uncomfortable, right? So there's this assumption that something shocking is inherently traumatic. But this is exactly why two people can have the same experience. Maybe they go off to war and be on the same battlefield, essentially have a similar experience, and one person comes back with PTSD and the other person doesn't. This is because trauma is not the experience itself. It's how the body responds to something that was, as Peter Levine says, too much, too fast, or too soon. So trauma is something that happens too much, too fast, or too soon. And trauma really arises from when survival response energy from the experience is not actually discharged from the body. So the energy remains trapped in the nervous system. Have you ever seen like these wildlife shows, National Geographic, etc., where animals are tremble quickly and like shake it off after they've escaped being chased by their prey? This is nature's way of actually discharging that intense burst of adrenaline and cortisol, right? So the burst of stress hormones is actually necessary and actually healthy. And I remember when I had my son 8 years ago in 2014, it was a natural birth, and my amazing midwife, shout out to Corleen McQueen in New York City, was stitching me because I had had a 1-degree tear the second birth, 3.5-degree tear the first birth, and I was shaking. I was shaking uncontrollably. And now I understand. It was my body discharging the experience. It was discharging this intense experience that I was going through. And the more I'm reading Peter Levine's book, the more I realized how when we prevent the body from shaking off that adrenaline and that cortisol, that's actually when trauma can get stuck in the body, and when that fight or flight energy gets embedded in the body because it didn't let go, right? So what this could look like when it doesn't get discharged is somewhere inside of us, we react to things as if the danger is still present, almost like there's some semblance of it that's still happening. So we're on edge. We're on edge. And I remember I had a client in Paris who reacted really strongly when high-pitched sounds would happen. It would really stir her. She actually thought it was her baby crying, even though there was no way this was possible because she was miles away from him. So any high frequency sound would cause her to look around her environment in this super high hypervigilant way. Okay, so this is just one example. This is one example where I can, in my own life, we hear the stories about people coming back from war, but when we think about our own clients, it's really helpful to go, where have I seen this? Where has this actually materialized in my own client caseload? So that's someone I think about when I'm thinking about this. And the other really important thing I think to remember is that there are 3 categories of trauma, 3 distinct categories of trauma that really also affect how we process it, how we look at it, and where our client is in that experience. So for example, the first one is acute, right? So the first example is acute trauma. And it results from something like a car accident, a fall. It's like a single incident. It's like a one-time situation. And it's often high impact. The second category is chronic, and chronic is more repeated, prolonged. It's like happening over an extended period of time. The third category is complex trauma, and this is more from a multiple traumatic events. It's much more complex, and it usually includes another person, whereas the other ones may not include another person. Now, certain people in certain times and in certain situations will leave from these experiences, any one of those 3 experiences we just talked about, with some sort of feeling of inner resilience as a result of their challenges, whereas other people will experience it as traumatic. And when I think about this, I think about how there are so many different experiences that our clients may have encountered that could leave trauma in their nervous system. And while we may not know the whole story of what our client has lived through, what we can begin to see are the ways that we as practitioners can be on the lookout for the impact of these experiences. So the nervous system of every person you meet has a story to tell, right? The way I think about it is like a person's nervous system is as unique as their own fingerprint. And I always try to keep this in mind with my clients, right? So what is the story of their nervous system? What implicit memories and self-protective adaptations do they hold when it comes to processing their experience, right? There are layers to keep in mind. So some of the things that I like to remind myself are, how did this person in front of me come to be who they are? Like what unique experiences have caused them to develop adaptations that were intelligent for their body to process these things? What were their needs met emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually throughout their life? And when we think about this myriad of experiences, the awareness that each person that we work with and their own lived experiences with their own needs, we remember there is not a one-size-fits-all process or set of techniques, right? So cookie cutter doesn't work. I'm not actually sure when cookie cutter approaches do work, but I know they don't work in pelvic health. I know they don't work with trauma-informed care. Trauma-informed approach is really what happens when we pay close attention to what our client's body is telling us. Are they open and available? Are they closed and restricted? Are they curious and exploratory? Are they rigid? Are they fixed? Right? These are all of the things and messages that we're getting when we work with clients, especially because they're coming to us about their pelvic floor concerns. So pelvic floor is so much richer and so much more in depth than just a physical issue. It's never just leaking urine. It is never just a painful experience with intimacy. There are other things at play. Whether or not it was a big T trauma or a little T trauma, like we talked about this past weekend at the summit, doesn't matter. And we may never know. We may never know the answer, and we don't need to know the answer. If we attend to our clients, we can really meet their deeper needs of that nervous system. And when we work with the pelvic floor, we are working with a client's nervous system. For me, a key approach throughout my career has been approaching everyone with curiosity, because we may never know what they lived through and what adaptations they cultivated to maintain their sense of security, even a sense of dignity. We can make a conscious attempt to really create a safer space for them. So I have talked about this in other OT and Power Hours, something as simple as asking them to pick where they want to sit when they come into your office, not just assigning them a seat, making sure that where the table you're working with them is positioned in such a way that their back is not to the door, especially if they're on prone position, right? Like there's so many ways that we've talked in the past. I don't want to repeat myself from a former OT and Power Hour. But there are so many ways that we can create a sense of safety, a safer space for our clients. And when we create this sense, it's all relative. It's an atmosphere that conveys hope and possibility. Everyone we meet has experienced some sort of trauma. So really erring on the side of caution when we do work that is vulnerable is so important. And let's face it, pelvic health sessions and our work is indeed vulnerable. We can do all of this while facilitating our clients to move towards agency and a capacity for mastering self-soothing and feelings of empowerment and self-regulation. And I want to challenge us to unburden ourselves from this impulse to jump in and fix them. That is actually not our role. I go into entire lesson in OT Elevate, my biopsychosocial course for colorectal conditions. I go into an entire lesson about this, about being a fixer versus a facilitator. Our clients are fully resourceful and capable. And when we honor that place within them, they feel that empowerment, and that already starts to shift their relationship with their little t or big T trauma. Now, I'm thinking of a client that I had in New York City that had significant pelvic pain. And helping them see their body's intelligence and that they found their way through their experience and that they are actually resilient really helps to cultivate an aliveness in such simple ways throughout their day. So stepping out to feel sunshine on your face. I did that yesterday. I was in the middle of helping to migrate all of the people who have joined the OTs and Pelvic Health Summit into another platform that would give them lifelong access if they chose that ticket. And man, I was like a data junkie. I was like typing away. I went outside at my lowest point and I just like let the sunshine hit my face. I just closed my eyes. It's something that I find so accessible now that I'm not living in Paris and I'm on a first floor apartment complex where I can just walk outside and feel the sunshine. Getting a new cup of tea, like as simple as this sounds, cuddling a pet. These are just some really simple ways that we can step into some nervous system safety and calmness in little doses throughout our day. Not waiting for that perfect moment or waiting for a breakdown to happen, but these feeding and nourishing our body in these small doses is absolutely my go-to. Now I want to walk you through a couple more exercises that are my favorite, and if you have any that are favorite, put them in the comments. I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite nervous system regulating tools? If you haven't answered the question about your favorite fall leaf color, put it in the chat. Mine is red. I want to hear from you. Tracy says, I sat outside with my lunch in the sunshine today. Yes, so Tracy is 5 hours ahead of us. Oh, wherever you are. Tracy has already had lunch. I haven't had breakfast yet. Rocky is joining us, a grounding moment. I need to get better at finding small doses. Small doses, Rocky, are really the key. It's these little small moments of dipping into safety and calmness that really feeds us, and that allows that sort of like, think about a temperature barometer. We see that temperature start to rise as our stress level goes. And I feel like every time we like just sit outside and get some sunshine on our face, like Tracy and I did, or we cuddle a pet, do some tapping, whatever your go-to, humming, gargling, right? There's so many tools out there that are just so easily accessible to us. We start to bring that temperature barometer down so it never reaches that red zone. And it is my favorite go-to. And my clients love it because it's accessible and achievable, and they can actually feel the shift in the moment. And that's what we want. A sensory experience of shifting in the moment is actually what it's all about for our chronic pain clients and for our clients who are have upregulated nervous systems. Tracy also likes red for the leaves. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to share with you guys now one of my very favorite exercises. So one of the ones that I like to give clients that is very available to them is like, it's 10 minutes long a few times a week. All right. 10 minutes a few times a week. I definitely do this. This is my regular practice. So what you do is you take a gentle pulsating shower, right? It could be a shower head. It could be the non-shower head that you don't take off. It doesn't matter. I personally prefer the shower head that you can take off because you can direct it on various parts of your body, but it doesn't matter. It's all great. The water temperature is comfortable, and you're simply paying attention to the part of your body where the water is hitting. You can hold the backs of your hands to the shower head, and then your wrists, your shoulders, the sides of your neck. And you're just paying attention to the sensation in each of these areas. It can feel numb, it can feel blank, it could feel uncomfortable, it can feel gorgeous. And while you pay attention to that sensation for just a few seconds as it hits whatever part of the body you're on, there's a verbal aspect to this where you say, "This is my shoulder, and I welcome you back. This is my wrist, and I welcome you back." You can also do this with tapping and not from a pulsating water. So if you're not in the shower, "This is my hand, and I welcome you back." Now, what does this do? What significance is there? So this is simply a practice to help establish awareness of your body boundaries, through skin sensation. So many of our clients have boundary issues physically, have boundary issues emotionally, have trouble speaking their needs. And this simple practice brings so much agency to their system. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. So this is one of my go-tos, 10 minutes in the shower, pulsating sensation with a verbal message. It's a beautiful one. I'm going to share one more with you. We have some people joining us. So if you have a go-to, throw it in the chat. Remember, this is our lifelong learning. This is where we're pulling up a table and all sharing. So if you have any of your favorite go-to nervous system down training exercises, please throw them in the chat and replay. You are not off the hook. We want to hear from you. Okay, my second favorite one is where now this is when I'm in person with a client. So this is not a home exercise program. They can also do this with a partner or a close friend though. So I'm having the client face me. We're both standing. And we're keeping the distance between them comfortable. And I'm asking them, I'm checking in with them. Is this an okay distance? Because you don't want to be too close. You don't want to be too far away. Again, this is all about agency and speaking up and telling someone your boundaries and your comfort. And when you start to give voice to that agency, it's incredible how that bleeds over into so many aspects of your life. So I'm asking them, is the distance between us comfortable? Then I'm asking the client to notice if they're aware of their feet making contact with the ground. And what does that feel like? I'm having them weight shift from left to right. I'm having them really feel, is their weight in their heel? is their weight in their toes. Now, this is so simple, and that's why I love it, because they can do this anywhere. Waiting in line at a grocery store, waiting in line for the bank, waiting for their tea to boil. Wait. We're always waiting, and when we're waiting and we're standing, it's an opportunity to check in with our body. So first, just the pressure, and I can't tell you how many clients tell me, I didn't even realize I could feel my feet. That's where it starts. Right? So start with the feet, work your way up through your ankles, your calves, your thighs, continue to weight shift, and ask your client to think about their feet as if they were suction cups. Suction cups, almost like the feet of a frog, flexibly rooted to the earth. Okay? So they've got this sense of grounding. You can also say things like, the roots of a tree. There's so much verbiage for it. I personally love the feet as suction cups. And then they're bringing their attention all the way up to their hips and their pelvis and their spine and their neck and their head. And then I'm asking them to feel their shoulders rise and fall with their breath, also their belly. So this is where I may have them put their hand on their sternum, a hand on their belly, thinking about that breath, and potentially swaying if it feels comfortable, and asking them to connect a plumb line down to the earth. So this is now getting them to stack and get connected with posture from the ground up, and then connect it to the breath. Now this can take about 5 or 7 minutes, and they're going to start to tell you that the more they do it, the easier it is to connect with parts of the body they felt numb to. So those feet sensations, they're going to go, oh my goodness, the 5th time I did this, right? Like, it's amazing just how much more with ease I felt my feet. So it's a beautiful exercise. Okay, awesome. Tracy has put one of her favorites in the comments, so I'm going to read that. There's a breathing exercise, which is amazing and calming to the system. Inhale a deep breath through your nose. When you feel full, take an extra sniff in through the nose and blow out slowly through the mouth. Practice throughout the day to initiate the PNS and help your barometer. Simple to do as your breath is always with you. I love that, Tracy. I am absolutely going to do that. Let's take a second. If you're joining us on the call, let's try it now. Let's see what it feels like. I love that, Tracy. I love that. I love that extra sniff. That's the shift for me. That's what was different. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to do that several times today as I continue to migrate my lifetime ticket buyers from the summit to the new system. That is the task that I'm going to need the breath work for. Fantastic. Oh, if you have any more suggestions or thoughts on your favorite nervous system tools or prompts that either you do in your own life or that you're working with clients, throw them in. As always, such a pleasure to join you all. Next week's OT and Power Hour is canceled because it is my birthday on the 14th and the kids have school off, and so we are going to go canyoneering and hiking in Zion National Park in Utah, and I am so excited. So I will miss seeing you all next week, but I can't wait to see you the following. I wish you all a beautiful day. If you have thoughts, suggestions, questions, comments you want me to cover on an OT and Power, as always, please reach out to me. I'm going to throw my email in the chat box right now, and I wish you all a gorgeous day, and remember to incorporate in small doses any nervous system thoughts or even tapping techniques to help bring down the barometer. Have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me.
I'm so glad you're here. This is a replay of a live training I did inside the OTs for Pelvic Health Facebook group with Lindsey Vestal, and I wanted to make sure that everyone gets access to it. Pelvic health is such an incredibly fulfilling specialty, and it's growing so much. I've been training OT since 2018, and my goal is to have over 10,000 OTs trained by the year 2030. I'm so glad you're here learning about this specialty. I hope that you can join us in the OTs for Pelvic Health Facebook group with me, Lindsey Vestal. I will link to the group below in the show notes and description. Thank you so much.